April 19, 1775. This date would forever be etched in the annals of American history. It was a day that began like any other in the quiet Massachusetts countryside, but by sunset, the world would be forever changed. The fires of revolution, long smoldering, were about to be fanned into a raging inferno. The tension between the American colonies and Great Britain had been escalating for years. Taxes and laws imposed from afar had fueled resentment and defiance. Colonial leaders, men like John Adams and Samuel Adams, spoke openly of liberty and self-governance. Secret stockpiles of weapons and ammunition were hidden, a testament to the very real possibility of armed conflict. In the heart of Massachusetts, ordinary farmers and shopkeepers, men who valued their freedom above all else, formed militias. They called themselves Minutemen, ready to fight at a minute's notice. Little did they know that their moment of truth was fast approaching. The fate of a nation, indeed, the very idea of liberty itself, hung in the balance. Across the Atlantic, King George III, frustrated by colonial defiance, dispatched troops to quell the unrest. His orders were clear: seize colonial military supplies and arrest the ringleaders of the rebellion. General Thomas Gage, the British military governor of Massachusetts, planned a swift and decisive operation. Under the cover of darkness on the night of April 18, 1775, approximately 700 British troops, under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Francis Smith, silently departed Boston. Their destination? Concord, Massachusetts, where the colonists were rumored to have hidden a large cache of weapons. The mission was to be carried out swiftly and quietly, a surgical strike to cripple the rebellion before it could fully ignite. However, the colonists were not caught entirely unaware. The Sons of Liberty, a clandestine group dedicated to opposing British rule, had established a network of informants and riders ready to spread the alarm at the first sign of British movement. They knew that the hour to defend their liberties was at hand. One of these riders was Paul Revere, a silversmith by trade and a fervent patriot by heart. Alerted to the British advance, Revere embarked on his now legendary midnight ride. Galloping through the countryside, he pounded on doors, rousing the sleeping militiamen with his urgent cry, "The regulars are coming out!" Revere's ride was a desperate race against time, a desperate bid to awaken the countryside and prepare for the coming fight. His warning spread like wildfire, carried by the sound of church bells and the swift hooves of other riders, including William Dawes and Samuel Prescott. The news reached villages and farms, igniting a firestorm of defiance in the hearts of ordinary Americans. The British might have had the element of surprise, but the colonists had something even more powerful: the will to fight for their freedom. As the sun began to rise, the quiet countryside was no longer quiet. It was alive with the spirit of resistance. The British troops, their scarlet uniforms a stark contrast to the verdant fields, marched relentlessly towards Concord. However, their presence did not go unnoticed. Forewarned by Revere and the other riders, a small band of militiamen, numbering only 77, gathered on Lexington Green. These were not seasoned soldiers, but farmers and shopkeepers, determined to resist tyranny. Leading the Minutemen was Captain John Parker, a veteran of the French and Indian War. He knew his men were vastly outnumbered and outgunned, but they would make a stand for their rights nonetheless. "Stand your ground," Parker ordered his men. "Don't fire unless fired upon, but if they mean to have a war, let it begin here." As the British approached, a shot rang out, its origin lost to history. A volley of musket fire followed. When the smoke cleared, 8 colonists lay dead, another 10 wounded. The British, after a brief but deadly encounter, marched on towards Concord. The first shots of the American Revolution had been fired. Section 5. Concord's North Bridge, a bridge too far for the Redcoats. The British arrived in Concord and immediately set about searching for the hidden weapons. However, the colonists had anticipated their arrival and moved most of the supplies to safety. Frustrated but undeterred, the British began to destroy what little they could find. Meanwhile, the ranks of the militia continued to swell. News of the fighting at Lexington spread like wildfire, and men from surrounding towns and villages converged on Concord, eager to confront the British. The colonists, their numbers now exceeding 400, took up positions on a hill overlooking North Bridge, a key crossing point over the Concord River. As the British attempted to secure the bridge, a fierce firefight erupted. The Minutemen, firing from behind trees and stone walls, poured a deadly fire into the British ranks. The redcoats, caught in the open, faltered and then fell back in disarray. The bridge belonged to the colonists. Section 6. Retreat to Boston. The redcoats under fire. Their mission at Concord a failure, the British began a long and perilous retreat back to Boston. However, the march quickly turned into a rout. From behind trees, stone walls, and houses, the enraged colonists harassed the retreating redcoats with a relentless barrage of musket fire. The British, accustomed to fighting in open battlefields, were ill-prepared for this new form of warfare. The colonists, skilled marksmen, and intimately familiar with the terrain, made every shot count. As the British retreated, their casualties mounted. The roadsides were littered with the dead and wounded. The retreat to Boston became a desperate fight for survival. The British, exhausted and demoralized, finally stumbled back into the safety of Charlestown under the protection of British artillery. The day had begun with a British attempt to disarm the colonists. It ended with a resounding victory for the rebellion and a stark realization: the American colonies were willing to fight and die for their freedom. Section 7. The Revolution ignited, a nation awakens. The battles of Lexington and Concord, though small in scale, had a seismic impact on the course of American history. The shot heard round the world echoed through the 13 colonies, igniting a firestorm of resistance. What began as a local uprising quickly transformed into a full-blown revolution. Thousands of colonists, outraged by the bloodshed at Lexington and Concord, flocked to join the Continental Army. The Second Continental Congress, convened in Philadelphia, formally declared war on Great Britain. The fight for American independence had begun in earnest. The battles also had a profound impact on the international stage. News of the colonial victory against the mighty British Empire spread like wildfire, inspiring revolutionaries and reformers across the globe. The American Revolution, fueled by the ideals of liberty, self-government, and the rights of man, would become a beacon of hope for oppressed peoples everywhere. Section 8. The Legacy of Lexington and Concord. A turning point in history. The battles of Lexington and Concord stand as a testament to the courage and determination of ordinary people fighting for their freedom. The farmers and shopkeepers who stood up to the British that day helped to shape the destiny of a nation. Their legacy continues to inspire generations of Americans. Today, the battlefields of Lexington and Concord are preserved as national parks, visited by millions each year. The events of April 19, 1775 are commemorated in countless books, films, and monuments, ensuring that the sacrifices of those who fought for American independence will never be forgotten. The spirit of '76, the spirit of defiance against tyranny and the unwavering belief in liberty, is woven into the very fabric of the American identity. It is a legacy that continues to shape the nation's character and its role in the world. Section 9. Conclusion. The spirit of '76 lives on. The battles of Lexington and Concord were a watershed moment in American history, marking the beginning of a long and bloody struggle for independence. The courage and determination displayed by the colonists that day ignited a revolution that would ultimately lead to the birth of a new nation, founded on the principles of liberty, equality, and self-government. The legacy of Lexington and Concord continues to resonate today, serving as a reminder that freedom is not free and that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. The spirit of '76, the spirit of those who dared to fight for a better future, lives on in the hearts of all who cherish the ideals of freedom and self-determination.